Ethan had just sent me a Snapchat when the new intern handed me a wedding invitation. Working late tonight, order takeout for you. As I opened the envelope, I wondered which coworker was rich enough to use heavy gold foil. But my heart stopped when I saw the names on the card. The wedding of Mr. Ethan Vance and Miss Tiffany Sterling. The venue was the Skyline Penthouse, the most expensive rooftop restaurant in the city. Just last week, for my birthday, he told me that place was too gaudy and overpriced. He said we should just order takeout and watch Netflix at home instead. I snapped a photo of the invitation and sent it to Ethan. So you're getting married? Why am I just finding out? He called back almost instantly. It's just someone with the same name, Chloe. Are you worried I'd get married behind her back? Ethan's laugh sounded forced, laced with a nervous cheerfulness. Not at all. I leaned back in my chair, matching his casual tone. Just a friendly reminder. If you ever dare to get married without me, I'll walk down that aisle and list every single dollar you owe me in front of all your guests. Don't talk crazy. His voice dropped, turning serious. You're the only one I'll ever marry. Once this partnership goes through, we'll get our marriage license. Don't overthink it, babe. Eat your dinner. The moment I hung up, my smile vanished. Sienna, the executive assistant, glanced at the invitation in my hand and whispered, Chloe, isn't that Tiffany? She was bragging last week about how amazing her boyfriend is. She said he bought her a luxury condo downtown, and she even mentioned she knew you. My mind flashed through Tiffany's 3 months at our company as an intern who dropped in out of nowhere. She never lacked designer bags or limited edition jewelry. During our last team dinner, she held up her phone to show everyone a matching couple's bracelet. My boyfriend picked it. He said this simple style suits me best. It was the exact same bracelet Ethan had bought me for his birthday last year, the one he later claimed he accidentally lost. Over the past 6 months, his late-night meetings had become more frequent. Every time I brought up marriage, he would brush it off, claiming the company was just starting up, so he was keeping a side piece. With a cold smile, I called the Skyline Penthouse booking line. After giving the receptionist Ethan's name and phone number, she replied politely, yes, Miss Vance has booked the main hall for tomorrow afternoon for a wedding ceremony. Would you like to modify the reservation details? I froze for a few seconds before hanging up. A sharp, piercing pain stabbed at my chest. Ethan and I had been dating for 3 years and living together for 5. He had never paid a single cent of rent or utilities, racking up a total of $35,000 in unpaid bills. He always said he was too busy with work. He promised that when we bought a house, he would put my name on the deed. I took a pen and wrote on the back of the wedding invitation. Stroke by stroke, wedding gift, $35,000 in unpaid rent and utilities owed by Ethan Vance. Please collect on his behalf, Tiffany. Once done, I stood up and walked to the break room. Tiffany was drinking coffee and chatting with a colleague, a sweet, smug smile plastered on her face. I walked over and slammed the invitation onto the table in front of her. Tiffany, congratulations on your upcoming wedding. Please accept this wedding gift. After all, you're about to own half his debts anyway. The smile on Tiffany's face froze. She looked at me completely bewildered. Chloe, what is this supposed to mean? Nothing much. I looked her straight in the eyes. Just letting you know that the man you're marrying, Ethan, is my boyfriend. Liar. Tiffany's face flushed red and tears welled up in her eyes. Ethan said he knew you, but you're just casual acquaintances. Casual acquaintances. I laughed, pulling up my phone to show her a photo of Ethan and me. It was taken at the beach last summer. He had his arm wrapped tightly around my shoulder. Smiling warmly, I said slowly, we've lived together for 5 years. When he started his company, I borrowed $50,000 from my Aunt Sarah to fund him when his first venture failed. I co-signed his $800,000 business debt. Tiffany, do you really think casual acquaintances do that? The surrounding colleagues immediately turned to stare, whispering. Tiffany couldn't hold back her tears. She grabbed the invitation and ran out of the office sobbing. Less than 10 minutes later, my phone rang. It was Ethan. His voice was dripping with fury. Chloe, what the hell did you say to Tiffany? She's crying and threatening to call off the wedding. Our entire partnership with Sterling Group is about to blow up. I let out a soft laugh. Ethan, instead of asking what I said to her, why don't you ask yourself if you're the one marrying her tomorrow? The line went silent for a few seconds before Ethan's voice returned, suddenly sounding pathetic. Tiffany stared at Ethan for several long seconds, her lips trembling. Then she slowly shook her head. No. The single word echoed through the ballroom. Ethan's face went white. Tiffany, wait. You don't understand. Chloe is trying to destroy me. Everything she said. I heard the recordings. Her voice cracked, but she forced herself to continue. I heard you say she was carrying your debt. I heard you talk about using my father's company to cover your crimes. And I heard you call our wedding a business arrangement. She pulled the engagement ring from her finger and dropped it onto the floor between them. So no, Ethan. I don't want to marry you. Mr. Sterling rose from his chair, fury burning in his eyes. Security. Don't let him leave. Ethan looked around wildly. Tiffany, please. Your father's loan. My father's loan has nothing to do with me marrying a criminal. That silenced him. I stood there quietly, watching the man I'd spent 5 years loving finally lose everything he'd built on my trust. Then Tiffany turned toward me. For a moment, neither of us spoke. I hate you, she whispered. I nodded. I know. She wiped her tears. But I think I hate him more. I almost smiled. That's probably the first sensible decision either of us has made tonight. Sirens sounded faintly outside the penthouse. Ethan's expression collapsed. And for the first time in 5 years, I walked away from him without looking back. Behind me, the wedding decorations were still glowing beneath the chandeliers. The flowers were beautiful. The gold invitations were expensive. The champagne was untouched. But the wedding was over. And so was my life with Ethan Vance. The elevator doors closed behind me. For 3 seconds, I simply stood there, staring at my reflection in the polished metal. Then my knees almost gave out. I pressed a hand against the wall and finally let myself breathe. I had won. So why did it hurt so much? 5 years of my life hadn't disappeared just because Ethan had been exposed. Every late-night dinner, every birthday, every promise about our future suddenly felt like evidence in a case against my own judgment. My phone buzzed. Sienna. Chloe, are you okay? I typed back. Me? I'm fine. I stared at those 2 words, then deleted them. Me no, but I'll be okay. Before I could put my phone away, another message appeared. Aunt Sarah. Did everything go well? I smiled bitterly. Me. He paid you back. Her reply came immediately. Aunt Sarah. I wasn't asking about the money. My eyes burned. I hadn't realized how badly I needed someone to ask if I was okay. The next morning, Ethan's company was on every business news channel. CEO accused of embezzling millions. Sterling Group loan suspended amid fraud investigation. Executive's secret girlfriend exposes financial scandal at wedding. Someone had recorded the confrontation at the wedding and uploaded it online. By breakfast, it had gone viral. Sienna sent me a screenshot. Apparently, someone had titled the video, Bride finds out groom has $920,000 debt, then his girlfriend walks in. I nearly choked on my coffee. People have way too much free time. Sienna laughed. You became famous overnight. I'd rather be anonymous. Too late. She slid another document across my desk. My smile disappeared. What is this? The preliminary forensic report. I scanned the pages, then stopped. There were dozens of suspicious transactions, but one name appeared repeatedly. Tiffany Sterling. My stomach tightened. Wait. Sienna shook her head. She didn't know about the money. Look at the dates. I compared the transactions. The luxury condo, the monthly allowance, the jewelry. They had all been paid through accounts Ethan controlled. But then I noticed something strange. Several payments had been made before Tiffany even joined our company, which meant Ethan hadn't started stealing because of Tiffany. He had been stealing long before her. Tiffany wasn't the reason. She was simply the latest person he decided to use. I leaned back slowly. Then, who was he paying before her? Sienna pointed to another page. That's what I'm trying to figure out. At the bottom of the transaction list was a company I'd never heard of, Vantage Consulting LLC. The account had received nearly $1.4 million over 2 years. My blood ran cold. Because the registered owner wasn't some mysterious businessman. It was someone I knew very well. I whispered the name. Marcus Vance. Ethan's older brother. That afternoon, I received a call from an unfamiliar number. Ms. Chloe. Yes. This is Detective Harris. We need to speak with you regarding Ethan Vance. I sat up straighter. Has he been arrested? Not yet. My grip tightened around the phone. Why? Because this investigation is considerably larger than we initially thought. There was a pause. Miss Chloe, we found evidence suggesting Ethan wasn't acting alone. My heart sank. Who else? We're not at liberty to disclose that yet. Then why are you calling me? Because we found something in the company's records. What? A file with your name on it. My blood ran cold. What kind of file? Another pause. It's titled Project Chloe. I couldn't breathe. Detective, we need you to come to the station immediately. That night, I sat across from Detective Harris in a small interrogation room. He placed a folder on the table. You've been with Ethan for 5 years? Yes. He told you he was planning to marry you? Yes. He promised to put your name on a house? Yes. Detective Harris opened the folder. Inside were photographs, bank statements, copies of emails, and something that made my entire body go numb. A contract. I picked it up with trembling fingers. My signature was at the bottom. Except, I had never signed it. What is this? Detective Harris leaned forward. According to this document, you agreed to transfer your ownership rights in several company assets to Ethan. I stared at the signature. It looked exactly like mine. Almost. Forgery, I whispered. Detective Harris nodded. We believe so. My hands began shaking. How much? Approximately $2.7 million in assets. I looked up. Why would he need my signature? That's what we're trying to determine. He pulled out another photograph. This was found in Ethan's office. It showed a handwritten note. 3 words were circled in red. Remove Chloe. My stomach dropped. Remove me from what? Detective Harris didn't answer immediately. Instead, he turned the photograph over. Written on the back was a date. 6 months ago. 6 months ago. Exactly when Ethan's behavior had changed. The late nights. The secret phone calls. The sudden obsession with a sterling deal. The marriage arrangement. All of it. I looked at Detective Harris. Was Ethan planning to kill me? He didn't answer. And somehow, his silence was more terrifying than any words could have been. Finally, he said quietly, We don't know. But we're investigating the possibility. My phone suddenly buzzed on the table. Unknown number. One message. You should have taken the $920,000 and walked away. A second message appeared. Now you've made yourself a target. Then a third. Ask yourself why Ethan wanted you gone 6 months ago. I stared at the screen. Detective Harris immediately reached for his phone. Don't respond. I swallowed. Who is this? He looked at me grimly. We're going to find out. But before he could take my phone, another message arrived. This time, there was an attachment. A photograph. I opened it. It was a picture of Ethan standing outside a building 6 months earlier. Beside him was a woman. A woman whose face I recognized instantly. My heart stopped. Because it wasn't Tiffany. It wasn't anyone from Ethan's company. It was my Aunt Sarah. I stared at the photograph until the edges blurred. No. The word barely left my mouth. Detective Harris immediately noticed my reaction. You know her? I nodded slowly. She's my aunt. Sarah? Yes. He took the phone from my hand and examined the image. Are you certain? Of course I'm certain. My voice cracked. My aunt raised me after my parents died. She's the person I trust most in the world. Detective Harris exchanged a look with his partner. Then he turned the photograph around. Miss Chloe, we need you to consider something carefully. What? Your aunt lent Ethan $50,000, correct? Yes. And he repaid the full amount last night? Yes. Did she tell you where the money came from? I froze.
No.
Detective Harris opened another folder. Inside was a bank statement. The $920,000 transfer Ethan sent your aunt last night wasn't made from his personal account. My heart began pounding. Then where did it come from? An offshore account. He slid the statement toward me. And that account received $1.4 million from Vantage Consulting, the company belonging to Ethan's brother. I stared at the numbers. My mind raced. Then Ethan didn't repay my aunt with his own money.
No.
He used stolen money. That's our suspicion. I shook my head. But why would my aunt accept it? Detective Harris didn't answer. Instead, he asked, when is the last time you spoke with your aunt? Yesterday afternoon. And what did she say? I remembered the conversation. Did everything go well? At the time, I'd thought she was simply worried about me. But now another detail surfaced. She had never once asked whether Ethan had paid her back. She had only asked whether we were finally getting married. My stomach tightened. Detective? Yes. What if she knew? I left the station just after midnight. I didn't call Aunt Sarah. I didn't text her. Instead, I drove directly to her house. The lights were on.
Her car was in the driveway.
I knocked. Nothing. I knocked again. Aunt Sarah? Silence. Then I heard something fall inside.
My heart jumped.
Aunt Sarah. I tried the doorknob. Unlocked. I pushed the door open. The living room looked normal. Her favorite mug sat beside the sofa. A book was open on the coffee table. But there was nobody there. Aunt Sarah? I walked toward the kitchen. Then I saw it. A suitcase.
Packed.
Standing beside the back door. My breathing stopped. Someone had left in a hurry. I pulled out my phone and called her. Straight to voicemail. Again. Nothing. Then I noticed an envelope sitting on the kitchen counter. My name was written across it.
Chloe.
My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper.
I'm sorry.
That was all. I nearly laughed. Sorry? Then something slipped from the envelope. A photograph. I picked it up. It showed Aunt Sarah, Ethan, and Marcus Vance sitting together at a restaurant. But this photograph was different. On the table between them was a folder. And printed across the folder was my full name. Chloe Vance, Asset Transfer File. My knees weakened.
There was no way. My aunt had been involved. But why?
I flipped the photograph over. 3 words were written on the back. Ask about your father. I stopped breathing. My father? My father had been dead for 15 years. What could Ethan possibly know about him?
My phone rang.
Unknown number. I answered without speaking. A man's voice came through. Chloe. I recognized it immediately. Ethan. You need to stop digging. My hand tightened around the phone. Where is my aunt? Silence. Ethan, where is she? You don't understand what you're dealing with. I asked you a question. She knew the truth. What truth? His breathing became uneven. Your father didn't die in an accident. Everything inside me went still. What did you say? He was investigating Sterling Group years ago. My heart slammed against my ribs. That's impossible. He found evidence of financial fraud. He was going to expose them. I gripped the counter. Then what happened? Ethan whispered. They made sure he couldn't. I couldn't speak. And your aunt helped them.
No.
She wasn't protecting you, Chloe. His voice dropped. She was protecting herself. I felt tears gathering in my eyes. You're lying. Maybe. A pause. But there's one thing you should know. What? Your father left something behind. What? A bank account. My breath caught. Where? Your aunt knows. I heard a door slam on his end. Then Ethan said one final sentence. Find the account before Marcus does. The call ended. I stood alone in my aunt's kitchen, staring at the dark phone screen. Then headlights swept across the windows. A car had stopped outside. I slowly turned toward the front door. Someone stepped out. Tall. Broad shoulders. A familiar silhouette. Marcus Vance. He walked toward the house. And in his hand was a gun. I backed away from the window.
My phone buzzed again.
One final message from Ethan.
Run.
I looked toward the back door, then toward Marcus's approaching shadow. For the first time that night, I realized something terrifying. The wedding scandal hadn't been the end of my story. It had only been the beginning. Marcus reached the front door.
I didn't wait.
I grabbed the envelope, shoved my phone into my pocket, and slipped through the back door. I ran. I didn't know where I was going. I only knew I couldn't let Marcus find me. I reached the neighbor's yard just as the back door of Aunt Sarah's house opened. Chloe. Marcus's voice followed me. I kept running. Then headlights appeared at the end of the street. A police car. Detective Harris had apparently tracked my phone. 2 officers jumped out. Chloe.
Get down.
I dropped behind a parked car. Marcus froze. For several seconds, nobody moved. Then he raised his hands. The gun fell onto the pavement. 3 days later, Marcus Vance confessed. Not everything, but enough. 15 years earlier, my father had discovered that several executives at Sterling Group were secretly diverting company funds through shell companies. He had collected evidence. He planned to expose them. Marcus, who had been working with those executives at the time, helped cover it up. My father's death had been staged as an accident. Aunt Sarah had discovered the truth afterward. She was terrified. Instead of going to the police, she made a deal with Marcus. She would remain silent if he promised never to hurt me. For 15 years, she carried the secret alone. And when Ethan started working with Marcus, she realized what they were planning. The reason Ethan wanted me removed wasn't because he had stopped loving me. It was because he had discovered my father's hidden evidence. And he believed I was the only person who could eventually find it. The $920,000 he sent Aunt Sarah wasn't repayment. It was hush money. She accepted it only long enough to get the transaction recorded. Then she disappeared because she was preparing to hand the evidence to investigators. She had been trying to protect me. A week later, Aunt Sarah came home. I stood in the doorway and stared at her. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she started crying. I wanted to tell you. I know. I was afraid. I know. She reached for me. I stepped forward and hugged her. For the first time since everything had happened, I finally cried. Not because of Ethan. Not because of the wedding. Not because of the money. Because I had almost lost the one person who had always been there for me. 6 months later, Ethan was convicted of fraud, embezzlement, and financial crimes. Marcus received an even longer sentence. Sterling Group survived after restructuring, but Mr. Sterling personally apologized to me for what his family had unknowingly become involved in. Tiffany never married Ethan. She left the company and eventually started her own business. We never became friends, but one afternoon, she sent me a message. Thank you for telling me the truth. I replied, you deserve to know. That was enough. As for me, I sold the apartment Ethan had lived in for 5 years. The money from the sale, combined with the money he owed me, gave me something far more valuable than revenge. Freedom. I also quit the company. Sienna came with me. Together, we started a small financial consulting firm. 1 year later, it was thriving. On my 31st birthday, I sat alone on a rooftop restaurant overlooking the city. A waiter placed a small cake in front of me. I smiled. The view was beautiful. But unlike the skyline penthouse, I didn't need expensive flowers or gold foil invitations to prove that my life was finally worth something. My phone buzzed. A message from Aunt Sarah. Happy birthday, sweetheart. Proud of you. I smiled and typed back. I'm proud of you too. Then I looked out over the city. For 5 years, I had believed my future was tied to a man who promised me a house, a wedding, and forever. He had taken my money, my trust, my credit, my love. But he hadn't taken my future. That belonged to me. I raised my glass of champagne and whispered to the empty chair across from me. To Chloe, the woman who once begged a man to choose her. The woman who had signed his debts because she believed in his dreams. The woman who walked into his wedding and exposed everything.
She was gone.
In her place was someone stronger. Someone who finally understood that love should never require you to sacrifice your dignity. I smiled at the city lights. And for the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for someone to marry me. I was waiting to see what I would build next.
The end.